What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we're doing a Seattle Seahawks 7-round 2025 NFL mock draft. If you are new, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. You guys know how to use YouTube. Below my face is my board. It is not updated for the combine, but it is completely honest. The guys with pluses are pre-injury grades, so that's not where they exactly land anymore, but I'm no doctor. I have no idea how they're going to exactly perform after, so I can only tell you what I do know, which is how they played before, so keep that in mind, but I do back up my opinions with all 22 clips over on X, so feel free to follow me over there. Let's get into this. Let's have a great time. We're going to be referencing our lads this entire time to be taking a quick peek at the depth chart, but we're going to be doing that after we see what the first pick is, and this is a live mock draft, so let's see how things turn out. We do have 8 picks at our disposal, which is great, and we do have some really good followers off the bat, so I'm super excited to check that out. But let's check out what we have to deal with right now. Quarterback wise, we have some debate as to whether Geno Smith should be the future. This is not the class to decide that in, if I'm being honest. But running back wise, we got Kenneth Walker, K9, love him to death. Then you got Zach Charbonnet, friend from high school. I didn't realize this because Zach and I haven't talked in a hot minute. He's one of the few people who actually liked my last Instagram post, so shout out to him for actually still being like out there. I thought he went Hollywood for a sec, but you know, I mean, guys get busy. Respect to him. All love to Zach. And then you even got Kenny McIntosh as a RB3. I love that to death. Tight end wise, you could absolutely be looking for an upgrade. I do think Noah Fant could be potentially on the out. So tight end is not impossible if you somehow get someone like Tyler Warren there. Right tackle, Abraham Lucas is awesome only when healthy, and that's been the biggest issue with him. The best ability is availability. He does not really have availability. Anthony Bradford has been a disappointment. Even Olu Oluwatimi, he's had his moments, but I think that we're safe to say that interior offensive line is going to need some help. Christian Haynes as well definitely has been a disappointment so far. I don't think you need to give up on Christian Haynes necessarily. I would prefer, based on the contract of him having one more year than Bradford, kind of giving him one more year. Satoa Laumea, someone who I did not like at all as a tackle, thought he had some hope as a guard. Like, you guys can end up potentially messing around with that, but I think you just have a lot of really good depth interior offensive linemen at the moment. Charles Cross, kind of the saving grace of it. Jackson Smith and Jigba going to take a massive target share jump, in my opinion, as he continues to prove to be the best receiver in the group. Love him in the slot. Tyler Lockett, I mean, people are talking about it. Like, we see the end of the light of the tunnel, right? We see it. And so DK Metcalf has been involved in some trade rumors as well as he closes in on that payday. Exciting to see that for him. Defensively, you got Leonard Williams right here. You got Byron Murphy, big fan of Byron Murphy, former first-round pick from last year. Defensive interior absolutely is still a focus. I do think that Byron Murphy should not be a nose tackle. He should be slotting in right over here, and then you should end up looking for someone to plug the middle, which is why we're seeing guys like Kenneth Grant being mocked to you guys on a semi-regular basis. I mean, I do think that nose tackle absolutely is something we should be addressing. Maybe not at number 18, but we'll still discuss it nonetheless. Edge rusher, I do think still needs a little bit more, even though you got guys like, Draymond Jones listed as an outside linebacker. I'm just going to be honest, that does not seem to be completely factual. But regardless, Uchenna Nwosu, love him along with Mafe and Hall, but we're talking about like a legit edge one is still possible. Ernest Jones, I hope you guys do re-sign him, but you know, if you don't, you don't. Tyrese Knight was a big fan of him. I think he's going to have a pretty bright future. If you do somehow see Jihad Campbell, I could see him being as a will linebacker that's also a hybrid edge rusher for you guys. Boundary corner, this is kind of the big issue. You got Reek Woolen here. Nehemiah Pritchett, if I'm not mistaken, has had some positive play, but you know, a true boundary two is really necessary at a rate that is like surprisingly not talked about enough. Nickel, of course, Witherspoon is an absolute stud. Love him to death. Safety wise, you got Love and Kobe Bryant, but I do think that you guys like to run those 3 safety sets with McDonald, and definitely still in the mix there, and something that we might be pushing for in the first round with Nick Eamon-Wari. But regardless, you have a good team. Every single year, I believe in y'all. You're still getting there. I still have a ton of faith in you. Again, that nose tackle spot, I think, should be addressed with somebody outside of the name of Byron Murphy. But We have a lot of really solid defensive interiors in this class that would be able to address it. I'm not selecting one in round 1 because the one that I might suggest in Kenneth Grant is gone. Hello. We just jumped all the way down to the pick 250 range. But regardless, here at pick number 18, let's see who's available. Josh Simmons at 33 inches of arm length and former right tackle experience is a very smart move. Armand Membu is a true right tackle who has 33 3/4 inch arms. I could totally see him saying, hey, we want you to play guard in the short run. Abe Lucas, we owe it to him for him to play out his contract, and then you are going to be the long-term successor there at right tackle. I 100% agree that that would be a very, very smart maneuver, and based on how this board is built, I feel very comfortable going after tackle early. I just know how awesome it would be with McDonald being able to have Nick Eamon-Wari, but I might just have to roll the dice on him slipping to 50, which is not going to be super realistic, but safeties can slip. Safeties don't have a ton of value, and when you do have such a gaping hole in the offensive line, I do have to worry again. This is, since I know I'm not selecting these players, I know where I assume I know where guys are going to go. I'm just a bit concerned. I can't take Donovan Jackson every single mock draft because I assume that he's underrated, right? I just can't do that. Anthony Belton, there's only so many mock drafts I can do. I do think that we might have to forego that safety 3 and go after someone who tests out like an absolute savage in Armand Membu, a 4.91 40-yard dash. If I'm not mistaken, he had one of the higher bench press reps as well with those near 34-inch arms. And I love that because you have someone who should be playing guard in the short run as he continues to work on his tackle form and end up being that true tackle for you. Even though people are like, oh, put him at tackle first, this is because of the respect to Abe Lucas that we're going to put this guy at guard. We're going to go after Armand Membu early and see if maybe we get lucky with the safeties. We do not. And it's unfortunate, but there are some really solid safeties that I can trust in that 3 safety set to where I don't necessarily need it. And again, I think boundary corner is a more pressing issue than what we are giving it credit for. So I'm very happy that we did end up getting Armand Membu early because it allows us to not have to feel a massive pressing need as of right now. But something that I do really like because we are in competition mode is looking at Darian Porter as Azareye'h Thomas as well. And I'm looking pick number 82. I don't really trust the talent that's going to be there. That corner 2 spot is a massive need. And we have Darian Porter here who ran 4.3 flat. I think he's about 6'3". So 6'3", has some good explosiveness as well. He's a bit older at that 24-year-old mark, but that doesn't mean he's been playing since he's been 24 as a corner. He's also someone who has also been a really good special teamer. He's been a wide receiver before. The footwork is awesome. The change of direction is awesome, especially at that size. I could look at him and be almost confident that he could be a perfect number 2 on the boundary. Not talking about him as a number 2 corner. Technically, he might be better than Reek Woolen, but regardless, he can be competing with Reek Woolen there for the number 2 cornerback job. On top of that, he would be the boundary number 2, which you have 2 guys who are really good athletes, who have really good size, Darian Porter's a former receiver. He has good hands as well. And so I really trust him to be extremely flexible, and you can use him all over the field. He's going to be a little bit older. I get it. But at the same time, when you can end up plugging the offensive line hole off the bat, and then you have a super reliable corner number 2, I don't think you can get much better than that. So Darian Porter goes at number 50. At 82, Pooh Paul slipping here. I would be looking potentially into the nose realm because nose tackle, I definitely think if you get Deone Walker here, you have a really bright future. Our next pick's at 137, so that's where I start feeling really uncomfortable because we have this clunk. That's a weird word. We have this group of defensive interiors, all of which can play the nose, in Jordan Phillips, Deone Walker, and CJ West. I think CJ West is the most underrated among this group. Talk about Jamari Caldwell as well. But CJ West tested out phenomenally well, and he has performed phenomenally well. Top marks on the defensive interior side, top 25 percentile in both pass rush win rate and run stop rate. But it's the eyes that end up telling you that CJ West is perfectly fine being a 3rd round pick. So I feel very comfortable with that. We could end up going after Jonas Savania because he does have a lot of flexibility on the offensive line as well. I do think Harold Fannin could be an intriguing target, but I would not necessarily push for that. Like, you could go another guard spot. Like, offensive line twice is not out of the realm of possibility. But if you're looking for someone to be a true nose, oh, like, could we wait on that? Like, you could just try to sign somebody, or we could try to roll the dice and see if Jamari Cole, JJ Peggy's, I've taken him one time in the 18 times I've done this. I could see us potentially trying to go for a 2-time Peggy award winner and, potentially going with that if he falls to 137, which I think will be the case. So maybe let's ditch that idea for now. I felt very uncomfortable going after it, if you couldn't tell. But like, safety-wise, again, we could go Makuba here, Ransom as well. Like, I love these players. Jonas Sanker, Billy Bowman. Like, we're talking about some really solid players. Upton Stout would be a backup nickel. I would not want him playing pretty much any other position. But Makuba, the way that he's been playing in box deep as well as slot over his career has been awesome. I honestly think that he'd be a really good player into this 3-safety rotation for Mike McDonald. And you look at him with Kobe Bryant and Julian Love. Maybe I'd want someone who's a little bit more of an enforcer, which would be of the Lathan Ransom type. But, I mean, Kayvon Wallace would be the one that he'd be rotating in for that same role. Linebacker-wise, you could try to go for it. Again, we already addressed that boundary corner role, thank the Lord. Defensive interior, we're going to roll the dice on it. Offensive-wise, we could try to just double up on line. Like, we could. You'd be giving up on one of these dudes. But at the same time, they're asking for it. No disrespect to them, but they're kind of asking for it at the moment. It's a tough spot. Lathan Ransom, though, would be a really, really good player. He's a top-end run defender, but on top of that, what I love the most about him is within 10 yards, 10 to 15, and then also in the red zone. This guy is awesome, and I think that he's going to, as long as the medicals check out, I think he's going to be a massively underrated asset that a lot of teams are going to really fall in love with. And he brings the Seahawks, he brings the boom the way the Seahawks would love it. So I personally feel pretty happy with that. He belongs as a third safety. You can feel free to choose any of these top 3. I love Sanker as well, Makuba, and Ransom. Feel free to choose whichever of that. But we're going to roll the dice on defensive interior and see how it ends up going here. And are we going to have to do the 2-time Peggy Award winner? Or are we absolutely about to get fucked? Did we get screwed? We got screwed on the defensive interiors, which the good news is Zeke Biggers is a great nose tackle as well. He has 35-inch arms. I'm going to be perfectly fine with that. But we got absolutely shellacked in terms of losing out. Where did Peggy's go? They knew that we were lurking for him, too. That's why they did it. How far up did Peggy's go? 118? Hot damn. That is really annoying. And guys, I'm avoiding the quarterbacks because I do take them, and I know they fall in these mock drafts all the time. So if you're wondering, like, why? But Femi Oladejo, out of respect for him, he's probably going to be a second-round pick. I would take him in a heartbeat. So please don't think I'm not willing to take Femi Oladejo. I think for the sake of realism, it's not fair for us to just be like, oh, like, he slipped here, so that's going to be the guy. I do try to keep it semi-realistic, so the guys that we do take from this, you can end up hoping for them on draft day. I just think that's a little disingenuous if I end up telling you guys that that is going to be the player that you can end up with. Tight end-wise, I mean, some slim pickings, unfortunately. I really like Jake Brenningstool, but he tested out way worse than even I expected. Offensive line-wise, this is a good spot. I haven't taken Emory Jones in a long time either. Also a guard tackle hybrid that I really like, a Johnny Cornelius as well. Very, very good players. And I think Emory Jones deserves to be on the interior as well. I know another LSU kid, but I think Emory Jones is an absolute stud, and he brings that run blocking power that you're going to love, that I think that you might have been a little bit off with Christian Haynes. So we're going to get both of the guards here, and Emory Jones as well as Membu. Membu's going to be that long-term right tackle. Emory Jones a full-time guard. So at number, where are we? 173. I might go Kyle McCord here. This wouldn't be a bad spot for McCord. McCord's a very solid quarterback, and I'd be pretty happy with him. Again, we've already addressed defensive back twice and offensive line twice. McCord's good value. Very good value here, because if you look at the quarterback situation, Jaron Hall is not worth it. But Sam Howell kind of has capped out. You could end up making something work with Kyle McCord, but I also, just between you and me, I know that we're going to potentially look at a Max Brosmer could talk about Tyler Shuck, but I've taken him a couple of times. But, really Max Brosmer is going to be the guy who we could potentially get at 212 and beyond. I just don't think that we need to force that pick if there is somebody else that we really like here. Beishold Tuten as well, after testing out the way he did, will not be available. Hate to say it, but I know we were talking about Zeke Biggers before. Definitely somebody who's on my radar. I forgot what Tafuna's build is. Yeah, he's more of a 3-tech, but I would say Zeke Biggers is going to be a great choice here. I don't think he's going to get to 186. I just don't. It's 13 picks. We've already rolled the dice once, and Zeke Biggers has 35-inch arms, and he was really, really fun to watch in person. So I'm going to take the shot on him. Kyle McCord slips to 186. I think now we could say, all right, let's do it. Danny Stutzman, shout out to him, a really, really solid linebacker. Could end up getting him for some depth, actually. Again, Kyle McCord, I just feel like we got lucky once. Like linebacker-wise, if we want to, can go down the board and then end up getting Teddy Buchanan. That'd probably be where my head is at. Let's go after Kyle McCord here at 186. And not a fan of Jaron Hall on the roster, but end up still seeing all the quarterbacks lurking here. Again, quick recap of what we've done. We've gotten ourselves offensive line twice with two guys who are going to be playing starting guard roles. I think genuinely both these guys are better than what you already have. We got our starting boundary corner, our third safety for McDonald's defense as well. And then we also have a nose that I personally think go to free agency, get your starting nose for maybe a year, and then seek Zeke. Have a seek for Zeke to be able to be the longer-term answer there. At the very minimum, you have a good rotational kid with some really good measurables. Then we got our backup quarterback in Kyle McCord. We have 2 more picks, though, and so we're going to use those accordingly. I actually love the idea of getting Dante Thornton Jr. here, who ran a 4.3 flat. So also another guy who is above 6'4", or I guess 6'3", if we're going to be like a little bit more particular about Darian Porter. But Dante Thornton above 6'4", ran a 4.3 flat. And it's kind of, especially with the potential rumors of DK being able to be moved on from, we could end up actually still having that massive deep threat. I love that value for us. So final pick at 236. Let's see who is still here. You got Dalton Fairchild. That'd be a fun one. Clay Webb has some allegations. So, there's some rumors around that. Well, we could potentially just try to maximize our value at that point. But I was talking about this earlier. Teddy Buchanan tested off the charts. I'm going to be honest, I have not studied Teddy Buchanan. I should. So that's on me. But this is somebody who has played all around, and I really like him as a developmental player in this defense. He's super athletic, and that's something that's worth taking at 236. You got the tools there, and people thought very highly of Teddy Buchanan. I'm super excited to see how he ends up grading out for me because I love athletic linebackers. But that's going to be how we end it there. We are going to be doing this post-free agency. If you do have somebody that you do end up liking even more, feel free to shout that out. But just a recap, we ended up getting 2 of our starting guards with our eventual starting right tackle here with Membu as well as Emory Jones. Defensively, we got our defensive back room in order with our third safety in Lathan Ransom and our true boundary number 2 in Darian Porter. We got the developmental defensive interior for the nose and Zeke Biggers. On top of that, we ended up getting a nice developmental linebacker here in Teddy Buchanan, which I hope you have Ernest Jones back on the squad, but still, if you don't, you don't. We have also a developmental, very big, very fast receiver here in Dante Thornton Jr. to grow under DK, and then also Kyle McCord to be a quality backup for the next 4 years. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Honestly, it was really fun. I really did wish the board fell a little bit differently, but still, I understand it. I respect it. Ended up turning out actually not too shabby at all. Hope you guys enjoyed. Love you. See you on the far side. Peace.